Hello everybody, welcome back to the Linux command part 2, and now we are going to discuss the rest of the pending Linux commands that are most popular and very useful for you. So I'll start with history. History, you can say it collects all the commands that you have hit in the current terminal that you're using, and it is related to only session 1. Once you're going to shut down the system and then again going to restart, and the history will have a different set of commands for the other session. So here whatever we have created in the part 1, I'm going to see all those commands in history. So you can see these were the commands related that we used in part 1. And if you want to use any particular command again, you don't need to type all the text again. What you have to do, you just have to use exclamatory mark, and every command has a corresponding numeric ID that you have to use, so that you don't need to copy each and every Linux and then you don't need to write it again. So what we are going to use, I'm going to again use cat number pipe grep 8. Let's see, we are not going to write the command, we are going to use the alternative ID that is mentioned over here. I'm going to write 1580 and just hit enter. So it is going to show what the command was hit and what is the response. So this is also one of the very useful Linux command. And the other one which I'm going to present is to check the process status of Linux system is ps. This is a very short and strict command that is going to not provide you a lot of details, but if you're going to use it with other relative switches, it's going to provide a lot of information. The second command is ps-ef. That's going to provide you a lot of details that you can see that whatever process that are embedded with your own system, and what are the root, you can say user ID, PID, PPID, and other things. Now what I'm going to use, I'm going to again use a new command with processor status, that is -aux, to check other relevant details that we can get. So here we can get what additional details, let's see, that is memory consumption and CPU consumption, the starts and the start time for a particular command and other things. So this provides you some additional details to the previous command that we hit, that was ps-ef. Now what we are going to do, why we check all the process status, the reason behind us checking the processor status is to identify whether our system is infected or whether any malicious process is embedded to our own system, and if you want to kill that particular process which is malicious and which is using the memory consumption and CPU consumptions in a bad way, then we can use the Linux command kill and put the process ID. So here the process ID could be like anything. You can say the process ID mentioned over here is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 and the corresponding commands. So you can see the corresponding IDs and the corresponding commands. You can see the processor status, we can see over here. If we find any malicious process ID, then we can kill the particular process ID. Killing, which means it is going to forcefully, aggressively execute, or you can say kill that, or you can say stop that particular process from your system, because you are trying to prevent your system from any malicious attack or infection. That is why you want to kill, or you can say stop that particular executable, or you can say a process that you have identified as a malicious one. So this was another command. And the other thing that I'm going to mention is that how we add the user and how we add the password in Linux. We use as user add. I think I've not installed it over here, so it's not going to show me. So what you have to do, you just have to write, let's see whether we can use sudo and user add what what we say, admin. Okay, it's going to provide me. Okay, it already exists. So which means sometimes what happens, whether if you're using some Linux command that does require some root privileges. Sudo is a particular command in Linux that provides you additional information, because for every user, public user that is using that particular system, they don't have all the permissions to do the modifications or some creations in the particular Linux operating system that you're using. So in that case, if you want to do some modifications that are restricted, so you have to sometimes use sudo. Sudo means super user. So that is required. So as you can see, I tried to create a new user ID named admin, but it is already available in my repository. So for the same thing, if you want to set the password for the existing ID user or for the new user, what you can do, you can just write passwd. Like here, I'm not mentioning for which ID I'm using. So the default ID for me is Kali. That is my own ID. So I'm just going to hit enter. And it's going to ask me whether I want to make some changes in the password or not. Since I don't want to, I'm just showing you how exactly the password is changed. So I'm just going to press enter and just going to exit that way. Yeah, simply the password was unchanged. So okay, now what we are going to see, we are going to see how the shutdown process happens in Linux. You just have to write shutdown, that's it. And if you want to shut down your particular system after some time, like after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, what you have to do, you have to input a switch which is -t for time, to mention the time in seconds, and 300. 300 means it is equivalent to 5 minutes. This particular command actually shows that after hitting this particular command, your system will shut down after 5 minutes from now. So this is the exact meaning. And if you want to write some other thing like shutdown now, it is going to shut down the system immediately. And if you want to reboot the system, write -r. It is going to reboot the system. And the other method for rebooting is also like reboot. The system is going to reboot itself after hitting this particular command. And as I already told you about sudo, now we are going to learn about wget, which means wget means whatever URL we have, like https://kali download. If you want to download some packages from the internet, this particular Linux command wget helps you use the terminal to download from a particular URL. So this is very useful. Like you can also use https kali.downloads.com. So this is the particular URL, or you can say any other URL that you can use, and that helps you download the particular package into your own system. So this is the terminal way of installing it. And the other very important Linux command is apt. Apt is used as a package manager for Linux. So it helps you install, update, upgrade a lot of things in your system. A lot of new features can be added using this apt. Like sudo, we have to, for most of the times, we have to use the super user in order to give the permissions to a particular Linux command so that it can do installation, modification, and other things. So that's why sudo is required. Sudo apt-get update. And along with that, we can use, if you want to hit two commands at the same time in a single line, you have to do just add and 2 times, and sudo apt-get upgrade. Okay, these are the things that you have to hit. But since I've already updated my system and upgraded it, I'm not going to do it again. So I'm just going to simply hit update. Let's see, as you can see, as I've already done my update, so it's going to get executed very fast. Let's see. Okay, by the time we get it, I'm also going to show you how we install using apt, how we install any package using apt. So just write sudo apt install any package name. This is how we do. And if you want to revert the upgrade that you have done, or want to auto remove some packages that you don't want in your system to get existed, so you have to just write sudo apt, write either auto remove or write just upgrade. So that is going to revert you from the upgrade that you have done. And the auto remove helps you remove some additional packages that you don't want, that you actually don't need in your particular system. And the other command is locate. Locate actually helps you, as the name suggests, it is going to help you find something for which you are not aware that which path and which exact folder it is into. It helps you find the exact location for that thing. Like suppose I'm going to find word list, or you can say I'm not going to find word list, I'm going to find some text file like rocu.txt. It's a word file. I'm just going to locate, and it's going to show me what exactly path I should navigate so that I can find the exact text file in my own system. So this is the particular thing that I'm getting. As you can see, anything related to rocu.txt, I'm getting it as a response. So this is how you can use this particular one. And if you want to see some basic information about the computer architecture and software of this particular Linux system, operating system that you're using, you just have to hit uname -a. It's going to provide you a lot of information related to which architecture you're using, whether it is GNU or not, what exactly Linux distribution it is, along with the versions as well. Okay, so now we are going to also see host name. Sorry for the typo. Host name. Host name simply displays the system host name. I'll click. For me, it is Kali. It's going to show me. And the users. It is available as only one user for me. And there is another command, who am I. Who am I exactly shows you what you are, what is your presence in this particular Linux system that you're working with. So it's going to show you that you have been recognized as this particular, with this particular name in this particular Linux operating system. So the last thing is, in order to unzip a particular package that you have downloaded in Linux, there is one thing that, suppose if you have to zip some .zip file, what you have to use, you have to use unzip and the package name. Okay, this is very simple. And if you have any tar file, okay, then what you have to do, you have to use tar-zxbf and the package tar file name, so that you can, I hit it by mistake, so that you can unzip this particular file which has the extension .tar. Okay, now you have to, I'm just going to show you a last thing which is very important, which is related to permissions. In Linux, there are three kind of permissions, like admin, group, public, for any executable file or folder that is available in your Linux system. And for this, what we follow some permissions in a format like read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute. The first one is related to admin, second one is related to group, and the third one is related to public. So how exactly our system decides based on the permissions that you want to exactly provide? Like for execute, we have the score 1. Sorry for the typo. For read, we have, for read we have 2, and for write we have 4, and the combination suggests 1 plus 2 plus 4 equals to 7. So either you provide it in this way or you provide it in numeric format. which means the same thing, but usually we provide it in this format like read write or whatever permission we want to provide to admin, group and public, which is related to any file or particular folder. So sometimes what happens, we have to provide some permissions to any particular file. Like suppose what we have in destination, we have just two files in destination. So if I don't have permissions in order to execute this particular file, like suppose let me create a file, okay, test.py, okay, just let me use nano. I'm just not going to write anything, just control O, enter, control X. Okay, we will see, since it is an executable, and let's see whether we have permission to execute it or not. As you can see, we don't have the permissions to execute it. Even let me try, even if I use sudo, let me try whether we have the permission or not. Okay, so command not found, which says that the specific permission related to, in order to execute this particular .py or shell file, you have to give some permissions, and after giving the permissions, it will definitely change its color in some other format, like it will be green or some other color, whatever the combination that you have provided to your terminal. So I'm just going to provide some permissions using either X. Okay, for giving the permission to any specific file, you have to just write chmod along with the permission switches, like plus X is to provide all the read, write, execute permission. Even if you don't use it, you have just to write 777, which means you are providing to admin, group, public, all the three things that I've already told you, that it is going to be written as read, write, execute, read, write, execute, read, write, execute. So this is the meaning. Okay, chmod 777 and then the test file.py. Okay, now we are going to see it is going to change the color, which means it has now the permission to execute itself successfully. Okay, just type it. Now we should not get the permission denied message. Okay, now it has been successful. Earlier we were getting the permission denied message after providing the specific the needed permissions to this script file. We are getting it in a format that it execute itself successfully. So people, that's all for today for part 2, and that's all related to the most popular Linux command that actually helps a beginner and intermediate in order to function or navigate or do all the performances using the Linux terminal. Thank you all. Please like the video and subscribe. And if you have any suggestions, please put that in the comment box. Thank you.